Hello YouTube, this is Zach, and today I'm going to be looking at Elf by Otto. This has been pretty highly requested by Otto fans for quite a while. People have told me that this is an example of Otto doing some relatively normal singing, and color me skeptical because I don't know if I've seen a single performance of hers yet that I would categorize as normal singing, but we'll see what happens. If you've never seen my content, I'm a professional voice teacher. I'm very much an analyst. I'm not so much into the emotional aspect on things. I really talk about what the singers are doing, but Otto catches me off guard quite a bit because a lot of times I have no idea what she's doing because she breaks so many rules of the classical world that I come from. So we'll see what happens. This is Elf by Otto.
走りなさい早くもっと早く悲しみに追いつ
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, this is already more traditional.
探しなさい明かりの灯る道をそれはまばゆいでしょう
Yeah, now I'm going to do this thing that always ends up inevitably happening where I say, oh, this sounds pretty cool. And, it sounds pretty normal. And then it goes into something else. But up to this point, this sounds like a much more traditional vocal performance than what I've heard. And I think I kind of had this initial impression from Unknown Mother Goose as well, that it initially was just kind of like a more traditional performance. But what I could hear from her in this kind of style and in the sound that she's creating, she's consistently got that really good control of navigating the chest voice up into the head voice. She does a really good job of actively controlling the amount of airflow that you get from her singing sound. So like you can hear, there's a couple of phrases in here where you'll hear it get a little breathy, but then she shifts it back into a fuller, more speech-like sound. And what she's basically doing is controlling a combination of the airflow and the closure of the vocal cords to make the airy effect with the stable effect. Now, I tell people that you shouldn't go around singing breathy all the time. You shouldn't, but it's an effect that some people like to create. And I don't so much have a problem with it if it's something that people can actively control, like she's doing here. When people sing with that breathiness by default, it's a problem because you're not getting full chord closure. And without getting too much into the science of it, if you don't have full stable vocal cord closure, you're more likely to put uneven amounts of work distribution on your vocal folds that could lead to damage over time. A lot of singers that use consistently breathy sounds end up with things like nodules or various lesions on the folds. So I tell people as a general rule when you're developing your voice, don't make breathy sounds. But Otto is an example of someone who can move back and forth. Now, if you heard Otto singing breathy all the time, I'd say, yeah, it's not good. And I've had other singers on this channel that I've talked about like that before. But if you want to use that as like a flavor of the sound every now and then, that's not so bad. Let me see if I can find it here. Oh, I started right on it. Yeah, so that note right there, you can hear how it's really breathy, and then she shifts right back off of it. Here? Yeah. You can kind of hear the fold sort of actively closing because she goes from, you can kind of hear it going from breathy to full. I'll go right back just another second so you can hear it. Listen to how you hear the breathiness kind of switch back into a fuller sound, and that's the vocal folds literally going from a more open position to a closed position as she's phonating. Yeah, right here. Yeah, one more time. Right, yeah, it's nice. It's really hard. Same thing, moving in and out of that breathy to chord closure thing a lot. Really, it's hard to find a spot to stop. The comment I was going to make is that I really like the way that she's utilizing the line of the melody. Like, so what I mean by that is whenever you sing a line, a musical line, there's a melody that you move up and down that has the various notes that you sing. And as the line progresses, you can change kind of the contour of the way that you're vocalizing by engaging more or engaging less. And she does a really good job throughout this entire phrase. It's a very long phrase where you can kind of hear this ebb and flow of the sound. If you go back and you listen again, if I want you to pay attention to how the voice is kind of like the dynamic levels, the volumes kind of pushing and pulling a little bit, and it creates this really nice effect where it sounds like she's really in control. Now, if I knew what the text said, I'd probably be able to give a much more accurate representation of maybe there's some kind of like deliberate idea behind it. There's this concept called text painting. And in text painting, basically you inflect in the voice what the text is conveying. So a very a very rudimentary example of text painting would be like if I'm singing down here and then I sing the word above, like go to above and I go up in the note. Like that's a very, very rudimentary example of text painting. But usually when you hear this much like ebb and flow in the vocal color and the vocal sound, there's some element of text painting going on. So I want you to pay attention here again. I'm going to play it and I want you to listen to how the voice is doing this shifting back and forth in terms of the timbres consistently. It's fuller, soft, full, a little more, and you hear a crescendo, right? So at the end of it, you hear this little slight crescendo where you get this like, you hear the voice grow just a little bit. The dynamics go up just a bit. There's clearly some element of deliberation in the direction of the line. And like I said, maybe the text could provide some insight into that. But it's very musically sensitive. It shows a very good understanding of the contour of the music. The accompaniment in the background is pretty dry. There's not a lot of, a lot going on. It's just a lot of like bum, 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 bum. So it gives her a lot of room to kind of work with it. If the accompaniment were super busy, it would be harder for it to be more nuanced in her singing without just sounding like a mess. But since the accompaniment is kind of sparse, it gives her a lot of freedom. Listen to this little tiny crescendo or swell of the volume on the oo vowel. Listen to this. Right here. Just a little bit. It's really nice. Good line, good legato. A little crazy. Yeah. Yeah, when you... Excellent oo vowels. Yeah, when you hear that kind of like almost frenetic flipping around with the voice like she does, that's the wild singing of her. Obviously the squealing and screaming that she does is wild too, but when I hear that really almost raucous movement from register to register, like when she goes from her chest voice up in her head voice with this like almost like a forced thing, that's the wild stuff. And she's not doing as much of it as she normally does in this. The reason I consider that to be wild is because when you make those kinds of transitions and changes in registers that abruptly and that aggressively, you have literally like the two muscle groups that mostly control this, the thyroarytenoid and the cricothyroid. When you make those big jumps, what you're basically doing is saying, okay, TA muscle, thyroarytenoid muscle, you're controlling it. Well, for these two notes for a split second, we're just going to completely shift muscle groups and let the CT be the one that controls it. Oh, then we're going to go right back to the TA. And that's hard enough to do as it is. Like, I mean, if I just try to demonstrate a simple glissando downward for my head voice down, let's see if I can even do it right now. I did a little better the second time, but you can hear I had to like warm myself into it just to get the head voice to transition down into the chest voice smoothly. Well, here she goes, just back and forth, back and forth. That is tough. I compared her to a yodeler in the past, not because she sounds like she's yodeling, but that's the same kind of skill set that yodelers develop, that ability to really quickly jump back and forth between the registers. But what's notable about Otto's approach in this is that hers is so much more aggressive, and the dynamics tend to be so much louder, and she does this like, screaming kind of like raspy thing on top of it a lot of the time. There's just so many variables that are going into something that's already incredibly difficult to do, and she just kind of takes that to another level. It's one of the most remarkable things about her as a singer. I mean, her versatility is really what impresses me the most, I think, but the fact that she can make all this movement and make it sound so easy is just nuts. In case you did not know, it is harder than ever to grow on this platform, so please like and subscribe. It helps me out so much. On that note, I also am a professional singing teacher. I teach voice lessons for a living. Join my Discord server if you're interested in that kind of thing. I teach all the time. I'd be more than happy to give you a free assessment. It's totally free, 30 minutes, where you can get a good idea of where your voice is at, and we can game plan for the future from there. I also have a Patreon, I have memberships, I have a merch store, all kinds of ways that you can support this channel. Please consider supporting me. I would appreciate it so much. Thank you, and back to the video. See, there he goes. Nice open ah vowel. Cool chord progression. Wow. Like, just little subtle lines like that with that motion in and out of the head voice is so impressive. It sounds so good. Like this. Yeah, that's so good. That little section right there was so good. Yeah, there's that raspy stuff. Yeah, key change, it goes up like I think a half step. I definitely hear shades of her being an alto more in this. You know, I've kind of deliberated on this a bit in the past where I've said, oh, you know, what is her voice type? Maybe she's like a mezzo, you know, but she does this screechy stuff that goes up into, you know, sometimes the 7th octave. So, like, what is her voice range really? Hearing her sing more traditionally like this, I really think she's an alto. It's really starting to, her timbre sounds like, by timbre, I mean like the quality of the voice. Like, I'm a bass baritone. I've got this kind of hefty, big, thick sound, right? You're not going to hear that from a counter tenor, you know? So every quality that a voice has, it lends to its fa or its voice type or its timbre. All those things kind of work in tandem with each other. And the timbre of Otto's voice has that rich, dark alto sound. I wouldn't say that she's a contralto because she has so much fluidity up in the upper range that I wouldn't say that she's like a bottom of the basement alto, but I would definitely put her somewhere in the alto range because her comfort zone of her singing when she's not doing all the crazy wild stuff sits right in the range of a traditional alto. And I mean, voice type doesn't matter that much. Like, this is an aside a little bit, so let me get on the soapbox a little bit here. Don't judge yourself based on your voice type. It just doesn't matter. The way you use your voice is much more important than what notes you can hit. You know, everybody's voice has a cap. And you auto fans have seen me enough now that I feel like I can kind of wax philosophical a little bit, and you guys are not going to just shut the video off. So I'm going to talk about this for a second. I see so much on the internet, so much of the rhetoric about you could sing anything you want. You could sing any range you want. It's just not true. I mean, it's not true. Not because we don't want it to be that way, but because there's a literal physiology involved with phonating. The thickness of your vocal folds, the elasticity of your vocal folds, the size of the muscles, the size of the neck, the size of the mouth, the size of the epiglottis, you know, the size of the pharynx. All these things contribute to the types of sounds that you'll create. It contributes to the timbre. It contributes to the range. How much collagen you have in your larynx is going to determine partially how much your vocal cords can stretch. I mean, there's just so many variables that go into it, but the reality is that we all have a cap. I can go way down here. How many sopranos can do that? Name one. I don't know a single soprano, a true soprano that can do that, but I can't go up into soprano range either. But it doesn't mean that I'm a bad singer. It doesn't mean that that soprano's limited. It doesn't say anything about Otto as a singer for me to say that she's an alto. So this is Zach's lesson of the day, right? If you're thinking to yourself as a singer that your skill and your ability and your quality as a singer is dependent upon your range and the notes you're able to hit, get that idea out of your head. It doesn't matter. There's a place for everyone in the vocal world. Trust me, I'm a baritone. It's hard for me to find music to sing these days for true baritones. Now, a lot of tenors these days call themselves baritones, but for a true bass baritone, it's hard to find material to sing because so many popular singers are tenors. So I deal with this a lot. Like, what's my space in the singing world? But it's there. You just have to look for it. Every voice type's like that. I'm sure that altos love to hear Otto because, hey, you know, this is something that you could very feasibly sing. I mean, it's tough, but an alto could sing this, you know, and you don't have to worry about getting up to a, you know, a G5 or A5 or whatever just to be able to sing a song, you know? So don't worry about your voice type and don't judge yourself as a singer based upon what your range is. It just doesn't matter. Work on optimizing the things that you use the most. And I tell that to all my students too. So that's my, you know, I guess, Papa Zach. That's my piece of advice for the day. Let's get back to it. Yep. Great control of the head voice again. Yeah, her O vowels are so resonant. They sound so good. I like this song a lot too. Dynamics. Crescendo. Closure. That set's cool. Flip up in the head voice. Oh, that's cool. That's a cool little line. Listen to that again. I like that. I like that little melody, that little turnaround. That was cool. It actually reminds me of a band that I'm a big fan of. I'm actually a progressive metal band called Native Construct, and I'm actually the guitarist and the singer's voice teacher, or at least I was back when they were active. And that this little section right here reminds me. What song does it remind me of? I can hear it in my head. Maybe a section from Chromatic Aberration by Native Construct. It's something from Native Construct, but this little section definitely makes me think of the band Native Construct. If you like these types of chord progressions and harmonies, and you don't mind like progressive metal, check out the band Native Construct. They've been defunct now for a while, but the album Quiet World is still a masterpiece. And I think that maybe I hear some of that in Otto's music. I don't think it's intentional by any stretch because they're pretty far apart in terms of where they are in the world and in terms of the genre. But I think that some of the compositional, elements of it are pretty similar. And Native Constructs, one of their biggest influences is Mr. Bungle. And I've on so many occasions said that Otto reminds me of like Mr. Bungle era Mike Patton. So there's kind of like this, I don't know, there's this little circle that I've kind of created in my head when I listen to Otto that kind of connects me mentally and musically to these different people that kind of fit into a similar subgenre in compositional ways, if that makes sense. So I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, this part's really cool. I think it's awesome. Yeah, I love that. That's sick. That looks like the album cover of Sorceress by Opeth. Nice tone. That was cool. Like, all right, that was cool. Like, just getting to sit back and listen to Otto sing without all the madness going on. That was cool. Um, Whoever recommended it to me originally said that this was something that was a little bit more of a traditional singing, and I can hear that for sure. And the hallmark things that make Otto great are all there. The excellent intonation, the excellent control, the moving in and out of these like vocal colors and ranges and sounds that most human beings can't do are there. But this was much more subdued and it sounded more like a pure song. And I mean, it's just great. I mean, she's just a great singer. Very pleasant sound. The orchestration was really nice. The arrangement was good. The chord progressions were good. Just a great song. I've enjoyed everything by Otto so far. So keep sending me the recommendations. And the Otto community has been excellent. You guys have been awesome. That's part of the reason that I keep making Otto videos. Lately, I've been sort of honing in on the fan bases that are the least toxic and the most supportive and the most interested in letting me hear more. So, I'm going down this Otto journey and listening to new music. I think Vivarium will be next. Been putting that off a while because I know that it's like a big deal and it's more about the lyrics, and I'm just not much of a lyrics person. I mean, I'm much more of like a singing person. So I'm bracing myself for that one because I've heard a lot of people recommend it. But anyway, yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to my Patreon to get my videos early. I'm having a lot of copyright problems. I made a video about it recently, but please, if you can, please support me. I would be eternally grateful. Thank you for watching, you all. I will see you next time I talk about Otto. Thanks. Bye.